Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning into Diverse Discussions Podcast. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, and all other audio streaming platforms. We're your host, Daddy Lucifer, and
Beast Daily, and we're glad to have everybody back for another episode. If you watched us last week, you may be wondering why we have another chair here. This is for future guests, and
Hey, you boys busy?
who are you?
What are you doing?
Dude. You guys know who I am. It's Outaker, bro. Your guys' best friend.
Dude, we have security like all around the building. How did he get in?
Don't worry about security, man. I done talked to him. I told him, hey, I've been Beast's friend for 13 years. They said, go on up.
We're gonna have to speak with security after this episode.
Yeah, we definitely are.
Anyways, well, we're having a podcast about online dating today. Do you want to join in on us with us?
Yeah.
Online? Hell, you bet your ass, dude. I want to get screwed on over, man. I got a lot of good stuff for this.
All right.
All
Well,
right,
everybody, this is Outtaker24. We call him Jake. You want to introduce yourself, man, everybody?
Yeah, you pretty much gave me the introduction. Just Outtaker. That's my online identity. They're just gonna call me Jake because every time we're always playing games, they just call me by my first name. It's a lot easier, but that's pretty much my introduction, man.
Well, I think for like beginning of the podcast, I think since we're talking about online dating, I think mostly people relate to with online dating is like dating apps. Like, you guys use any of those?
Yeah,
do you wanna-
say, we both. You wanna go ahead and talk about our the dating apps? We've had a lot of conversations about these.
For me, man, I use stuff like Facebook dating. I used Bumble. I don't use Tinder because those people are just thirst traps and thoughts on there. So I don't even worry about that. But I mean,
I use Tinder.
What are you trying to say?
I mean, he's not wrong, but
Okay. But yeah, that's pretty much what I'll use, man. So far, no luck on it. I mean, a lot of my relationships kind of just been based on either in-person interactions or anybody that I've kind of. So Beast knows about this, but my little methodology that I get girls with, man. You know, the little friends you may know on Facebook. You have mutual friends. You hit that add friend, and then if they accept you, man, then you're in. You know, that's how I got my girlfriends in the past, man. I don't do a lot of online dating, none of that BS. But when I do, I haven't had a lot of luck with it. So that's where I'm at on that.
Yeah, you actually
about you,
tried
Beast?
making. Yeah, he actually tried making me do these dating apps for a while. He would always once he went through a little phase of that, but I started doing them. I think it was last year, early last year. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna join a couple. I joined Bumble and did the Facebook dating, and I did try Tinder for a little bit, but realized that was like he said, for thirst traps and stuff like that. So that wasn't what I want, since I'm more of a relationship guy. I want, whatever. But yeah, so I've tried that, but I haven't really done it lately. Yeah, go ahead and mention what you've been doing on there on these apps.
Well, I'm a big fanatic of dating apps. Like, I use them all the time. I do use Tinder. I don't know. I think I like to use all of them differently because they all kind of work differently as well, and you do get to meet different people from those apps as well. Like you mentioned before, Tinder's a lot of thirst traps and stuff like that, but you don't really find that on like other apps like Bumble or stuff like that. Never tried your tactic with adding mutual friends. I might have to try that. But
You'd be surprised, buddy. It works.
but what happens if you accidentally add like one of your friends, like family members or something? And like,
Then you just unfriend. Like, so after you hit the sin and they accept it, you got to do the old snoop. You got to do the audit. So you click on the profile, you look through.
you got to lurk. You got to lurk.
Yeah, you got. I call them audits. You know, because you never know what you're gonna get yourself into.
It makes it sound a little bit more professional. Yeah, okay, I get it.
Yeah, so you going through there and you see something you don't like, don't even worry about it. You can always hit the unfriend. But if there's somebody you have interest in, you go through the timeline, you start hitting some likes, just to get notified on their notification screen saying, oh, who is this person, right? Who is this Jake guy, right? They check it out, they might hit a like back, right? Next thing you know, you're in a like war until you send the first message. And then you're in, man. It's simple.
And trust me, this has definitely worked for him a lot. He's actually shown me a lot of times how this has worked. I don't know how. I really don't get how that is something that works.
You would think somebody would consider that like kind of stalkish. Don't know, like not calling you a stalker, but it does kind of come off a little stalker.
If you get the message, right, and they're just like, hey, how do I know you or something? You got some options, right? The old reliable I go with, oh, I think I've seen you in high school, or I've seen you somewhere, right? I think that's how I met you before, or whatever. And they're like, oh, okay. And then, you start talking, that's how you get your foot in the door, man. Real easy.
Okay.
Wow.
Not bad.
Never thought to try it like that. Maybe I will try it eventually. But that's...
Yeah, no. I definitely want to try that myself. Like I said, I kind of stick with Tinder and that old like reliable there for me, because you get to really like put a lot of information on there, but the thing is, the information could be falsified. Like obviously, like anybody could lie to you, even face to face, but like you can kind of read people's faces when they're trying to lie or something like that. But online is a whole nother ball game. Like you can really just look at a bio like, oh, like look at me, like I'm a doctor, but they work at like the gas station down the street. Like you
that exactly. And then it comes to that time and it's like, I thought you said you did this, and it's back and forth. They don't, can't hold on to their lies and all that. But my issue with really, I know we've said like Bumble and Tinder and all that. Like my issue with Bumble really is the fact that like, the woman's supposed to start the conversation. And when you get the conversation from them, it's just a simple, hey. Like, okay, well, what, how was that starting the conversation? Okay, hey, back, all right, it's done.
I could have said that. Like, you might as well.
Yeah, like,
yeah, you run into a profile, man. Their profile says, I will not respond hey or what's up. On Bumble, hey. Or hey, what's up? Smiley.
Yep.
Hi, I'm so-and-so. Nice to meet you. What's up?
No. I think my favorite one is like they don't even have the decency to say that on Tinder sometimes. Sometimes they just hit the wave button on Tinder. You just get an emoji of somebody waving at you. They don't even say nothing. Like they just like, hello, I've made your presence clear that I'd like seen it, and that's it. You just get
that's it. That's it. Yeah.
And then your response to that is like, do I send emojis back? Do I say something? Like, what?
And I do want to add on to what you were saying about like Bumble, how people can falsify their information, right? See, if you go with the Facebook tactic, right, and you check in their profile, it's hard for them to falsify when you got Aunt Jenny saying, thanks for coming over for Memorial Day weekend and stuff like that, right? When you got family tagging in posts and stuff. So that's how you find out the real person.
You really trying to sell us on this Facebook strap.
It is. Like, do you work for Facebook?
But hey, I've been around the block or two.
Listen, man, you already struck gold. Like, stop digging. I'm gonna try it. Like, no. But I think a good thing about this is like it really gives you like a different definition of like instead of meeting somebody the old-fashioned way. Do you guys prefer like meeting online, or do you guys are more of a fan of like in-person encounters?
You want to start that off, or do you want me to?
I mean, I've tried actually both, and I feel like in person is better just for multiple reasons, and we can get onto that later on in the episode. But in my opinion, in person is probably better from my experiences. What do you think, Jake?
Well, so I kind of have a different approach on it too. Like, I guess you could say I'm more of a hybrid type deal. Like, if I meet somebody in person, I'll have conversation with them. But if I want to get to know them more, after that, I will like use an online service like Messenger or whatever. If I find them somewhere else, I prefer to use that to get them to know them, to build my confidence, because I'm not going to sit there in person and mean like, what are your hobbies and stuff, like try to have like deep conversations unless it's actually somebody that I can have a conversation with so quickly. But it's just, I guess it's just a preference. It really depends on who you're trying to go after, in my opinion.
I mean, I guess if we look at it from that point of view, I would probably agree with that. Then more of a hybrid than, I think.
But I mean, I don't know. Like, I used both. I would consider myself a hybrid as well. Like he worded it, but like, I don't know. I guess it also depends on like if you're like more of an outgoing or ingoing person. Like if you're an extrovert, introvert. Like for me, I'm super extroverted and I'm like super loud, outgoing. Like I'll start the conversation if there isn't one. So like even if I met like somebody like like at a grocery store or something, like I would have a full blown conversation with them. Like I don't know. This makes me.
It just that just depends with me. Like I don't know if because I'm introverted and extroverted. Like there's times where I'm extroverted and I want to be all out there, and then there's times where I'm just introverted and just want to be, to myself. But I don't know if I could. Just depends, really.
Yeah, and for me it depends too. Like I'm very observant with people. So if you put me in a room with a lot of introverts, I naturally become an extrovert. But if I'm in a room with a lot of extroverts, I become an introvert. So it just I'm really I observe my people before I interact with them a lot too. So
wow, that's actually really interesting because I'm always extroverted. Like it's very very rare that I'm introverted, and I feel like that's only when I'm like kind of going through something personally. That's when I'm like kind of more quiet into myself. But even like in a like even when I was in school or anything like that, even in the library and stuff like that, where most of the people would be introverted, like reading their own books or keeping to themselves or something, I would always start a conversation with anybody, really, like not even just like the online dating aspect, but just talking to people and communicating with people, because somebody has to always take that step and break the ice, whether if it's just a casual conversation or like flirting conversation. And I've just always been the icebreaker. Like I'm just super super like, hey, like you're not a talkative person, but I am. So how about I try and help you out and get you out of your little comfort zone?
That is actually a really good way to put it. I need to apply that to my when I'm talking to people. Like there's times where if it's a friendly conversation, we're talking about something, I keep it friendly, but in a flirty sense, it just depends. Like it takes me a while to really start opening up and being that way, and really mine has more so been at work. I've actually had a couple relationships from work that happened, and I guess that's more the in-person aspect of it. Is I would meet them in person, and I would be all flirty, and it's just the vibes that I would get from them. That's what made me more extroverted with them and stuff. I don't know. It just depends, really.
Yeah. What's funny about that, like back on the whole like dating apps and stuff like that, and Facebook and all that other stuff, we kind of skipped over a major thing, and that's like how different pictures and real life can look, like catfishing and stuff like that. Jake, have you ever experienced any sort of catfishing?
I only experience it with just online dating apps like Tinder and Facebook dating. But again, if you apply the Facebook mutual friend thing that I do, Debbie's gonna get tagged, is gonna tag so and so in a photo on the photos of you on their Facebook, and you get a good actual representative of what they look like as a person. So again, that
but even then, even photos like that, like posted by other people and stuff, can still be deceiving compared to what they look like.
And be edited and everything like that. Yeah.
Filters does wonders.
Filters. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
it helps me too.
On that too. But yeah, what I've noticed people what they kind of do over time is when you do click on their profiles, instead because I don't know if you noticed, but when you click on their profiles, they have like two tabs. They have photos of you and photos that they uploaded.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed that people take the photos of you off because they'll have like family members and stuff with unedited photos that they'll post online, right? So they'll hide that from their privacy, so you can't get this real look of what they look like as a person. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
Well,
Yeah, I mean, I've experienced it, but the thing about it is, man, is like when I was younger, the looks used to always be the best, like the high thing for me, right? But as I get older now, like like if somebody that I see they look a little different, if I'm having a good genuine connection with them from an emotional and mental standpoint, to be honest, man, I just don't really look at the physical aspect too much.
finally, finally, you have taken the advice I've always
He's
given
taught me
you.
that. He's taught me that.
Always told him this. Looks do not always matter in a relationship. If you've got that connection with somebody, I know you feel differently on that, Lucy. But listen, man. It, I mean, you can have a physical attraction to somebody, and if they're just not your type, that's fine. And sometimes you could build that from their personality or how y'all are in person and how y'all connect. I mean, that's really the big thing. If you're able to laugh and joke and be open with each other and feel comfortable around that person, that's the biggest thing in a relationship for me. So like the looks don't really matter. I feel like
Well, so I will
too
tell you
much.
this, and you guys know this from my last relationship that I was in, right? The girl that I was with got along so well. We were able to joke so much, right? Like, yeah, the whole, you base it off personality, right? But this was the first relationship that I had where the physical attraction wasn't there. And it's like, man, that really does play a bigger part than what I actually thought it would be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there was just no romance. There would be the whole like joking all the time. She'd be like a bro to me in a way, like a roommate in a sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like I think that the personality is the biggest part, but the physical attraction and appearance is definitely a top two. It's got to be right behind it. Like they've just got to line up, in my opinion.
I guess
Mm-hmm.
that's true. Yeah, I mean, but then again, if you do find your soulmate, I just feel like I'm more of a soulmate guy. But if you find your soulmate, I feel like you really got that connection and you truly feel like y'all are meant for each other. I think none of that other stuff matters. I think that's just we're meant to be type thing. But what are your
Well,
thoughts, Lucy? On
well, okay, so yes, like personality and like connecting emotionally is definitely like probably the biggest thing, definitely that like will keep you guys alive and keep you guys together, right? Because you can have the most gorgeous woman in the world, but if she treats you badly and like doesn't show affection, all the other stuff in between, it's gonna be a very sad and short relationship. um, but here's what it is. Like for example, if we were going under that like theory of like connection is what matters mostly, then I mean, don't you think more people would be like bi-curious or something? Because like as close friends, we all connect very well, and we all laugh together, and we agree on pretty much everything. So if it's strictly based off of like emotional connection, you would think it'd be like going down the kind of route, which obviously I believe all of us are heterosexual, and um, so
yeah,
what starts it off for me is the physical appearance. Like it sounds kind of shallow, but I think everybody has that like aspect because, for example, let's put it like this: if we just saw two random women walking down the street, right? One of them we all considered very attractive, and the other one we didn't really consider that attractive. We immediately lock eyes on the attractive one just out of sheer nature. It's just human nature. And obviously, until we like discuss with the person, like really get to know who they are, that's when the emotional connection kicks in. So, like, it sounds shallow, but I'm like, if I find a girl unattractive, we can be good friends and stuff like that. But no matter how much we connect emotionally, like he said, the physical attraction is not like looks aren't everything, but it does count for a lot. And like it's just not to say anybody's ugly, not in any words I'm saying anybody's ugly. Everybody has a different taste and everybody likes different, body sizes, heights, everything in between. But for what you personally are interested in, I feel like it has to fit some sort of criteria before you like get, you know, to that point of emotional connection.
yeah. Now I see what you're saying by that. But I just like I said, there is an aspect of looks that do play into it, but I just don't think it's the majority. Like that's not the major thing that needs to be in somebody that would make me want to be with them.
Can I ask
Right,
you
like,
a
it'll
scenario on what you
Play
would do?
off on it, but
So
sure.
so say you're with a woman for a year or two, right? And you're with
Mhm.
her and you absolutely love her. You guys get along so well, right?
Mm.
You guys rarely ever fight. If you guys do fight, you're able to resolve conflict easily, right? What do you do in situations where if you don't find the person that attractive, how do you go about getting your what's the word? I guess you could say how can you get your sexual needs met then? Because like
I mean,
if you're not if you're I've seen this time and time. I've had friends that's been with women that they don't find attracted to and then they go out and cheat. And I'm just like, dude, you got a girl that's like you connect on such an emotional level with, right? Then and then they just go out and cheat because they just don't find them physically attractive.
Just for
know?
the record, cheating is always wrong. Nobody should ever cheat.
always, always. But in this, so I feel like you would find that out before a whole year would go by, though, according to your scenario.
Well, there's
If
some
it,
people that don't like. There's some people you'd be surprised, man, because like there could be situations where they don't talk to each other about that because that could be such a sensitive topic
and
with one
that's
another.
just a problem. I think that's where people need to be open in conversation and be like, look, this is this, like, what is bothering me in this relationship or whatever. Like, there's a lot of people that just they go and get themselves stuck, quote unquote, when I don't think you're ever stuck in a situation, and that's when they turn out to go and cheat. And that's the big issue with stuff like that is they don't talk and they don't communicate. And so I don't know. I don't in your situation that you explained there, I just feel like either A, you communicate with the other person and tell them what you what your issues are, or B, you just I don't know. For me, the whole sexual aspect of everything isn't a big thing either. So this may be more something that Lucy could comment on, maybe. But I don't know. I don't in that scenario. I don't know. Maybe it's just not right. If that's a big thing for that person, instead of cheating, just in the relationship, it's not right to cheat and then hurt the other person. That's just not right to do. So
Yeah. Yeah. Based off that like topic, um, I feel like you wouldn't really be in the scenario had you had looked at it from my point of view. If you had like made sure that the physical attraction was there first, and then talk to her, and then if the emotional connection is there, then all is settled. You won't be in that scenario. Um, but again, when it comes to that, like I agree, cheating is always wrong. People put themselves in positions to like cheat, which they should never do. Because I hear all kinds of excuses. I was drunk. I was, this,
yeah,
that, and the third.
terrible excuse.
And let me tell you something. I've been blackout drunk more than I would like to admit. And never once have I like had the urge to cheat on anybody I was with at the moment. Never once. And people have tried. Like when I go out with my friends to the bar or something, and I'm like in a relationship or whatever. Like there's this one story. One of my friends, me and him, we were playing ping pong, and these two girls came up and asked if they can join us. We were like, yeah, cool. We'll just play twos, like me and my boy, and you two can go. And then later we found out they were in a relationship, right? They were together, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, so like me and my boy started joking around, like, oh yeah, so are we, just messing around with them, and they started laughing. And so we're playing ping pong, whatever, and the girls fell in love with us. The girls were like, yo, you guys should come back to our place with us, like, we could have a good time, blah 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 blah. And me and him, drunk, we're both like, no, like we both got girlfriends. Like, I'm sorry, it would be a lot of fun, but we can't. And then, and then later on, we see them making out in the parking lot when we're leaving, and I'm joking around with my friend. I'm like, yo, man, that could have been us. We could have been there with them. Why did we have to be in relationships at the moment? But obviously, we both stood loyal. We both went back to our girls, and stuff like that. But in a nutshell, yes, if you have that emotional connection with somebody and you don't have that physical attraction, like, and you want to get your sexual needs filled, I mean, depending on what it is, I feel like communication is key. Like, it's a harsh subject to bring up,
100%.
and like it's hard to tell like your girlfriend, like, hey, like you're a little too skinny, you're a little too overweight, you're a little too, like, your hair is a little too messy, whatever the problem is that's making you unattracted to her physically. You have to discuss this somewhere or the other, and that's basically what you got to do. You really just got to be like, like, hey, I don't mean to be harsh, I love you, blah 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 blah, but you know, like you've put on a few pounds, like whatever it is. Like, I'm just going to the weight because that's a big one for a lot of people. And by no means am I body shaming anybody at all. I'm just using that as an example. But yeah, hey baby, put on a few pounds. Like, I also feel like I put on a few pounds. Like, maybe we should go to the gym together, and maybe we can lose weight together and get our body goals that we want together. And like, when you put yourself in the like scenario with her, you're not really talking down to her. You're on the same level with her. You're inserting yourself in that situation as well. Like, I feel like I've gained some weight as well, and I feel like I want to lose some weight. Would you like to join me and support me, and like, do it together as a team? And then, that's another thing that goes well with the relationship, when you guys do stuff together and build each other up from the ground instead of, shooting each other down.
You know
I
why
think that's
y'all
kind
gained
of.
weight, right?
Hmm.
You know why y'all gained weight, right?
What do you mean?
Because that's happy weight, dude. When you're with somebody you love,
I was about
you
to say
guys
that.
eat all the time, and you guys just gain
Yeah.
weight together. So if you're gaining weight
Yeah.
when you're with a woman, that means you're in the right relationship, in my opinion, too.
I agree. 100%.
I disagree. Every relationship
Of
I've
course,
been
that
in,
is
I've gained weight, and all of them have failed tremendously, and all cheated
okay,
on
but
me.
wait, did they? Did
But
they
was you
gain?
happy at the time?
I mean, yeah. Before
That's
I
happy
found
weight.
like the messages and stuff, yeah, I was very happy.
So, all right. So let's flip this question that you asked us. Let's flip it back onto you. What is your thoughts on that? About the question you asked us, the scenario of
Oh, well,
going a whole
I
year.
already think that physical attraction plays a key part. Like, I think it's right behind the whole personality thing. I'm not saying in any way, shape, like, and I learned this from my last relationship, of course, obviously, but like, it just has to be there. And if it's not there, then I just feel like, are you in a relationship or are you in a friendship? You know? So, I mean, mine's pretty straightforward. I think there should be some type of physical attraction. And if there's not, the thing about it is, right, if you're going on these dating apps and you're scrolling, you're looking, right, what's the first thing you see? You see a picture of them, or do you see their bio? Do you read a bio first, or do you see a picture?
Yeah. You see a picture.
You see a picture, you like what they look like. Okay, let's look at the bio. What's the bio say? Okay, it aligns with what I'm looking for. Like,
I mean that's true, but the
That's
thing is though, is
exactly what
like,
I was trying to say.
so if you go a year though, what would you do in that situation? If that's you and you went a whole year and then now you're starting to feel like
well,
the
so
attraction isn't there.
I mean, I'll admit I have flaws as a person, and one of my flaws is I think that's a touchy subject for myself. I feel embarrassed about it because I feel like something would be wrong with me. And in my last relationship, I tried to bring it up, but I just couldn't because I just felt ashamed of it. So it was just an underlining issue that was just never resolved, which ultimately ended in a breakup. So I mean, everybody's different, but that's how I handled it. I just couldn't handle it, But again, it's
Well,
one of them things that you learn as you get older and you get in these
Yeah.
relationships with people.
That's a good
yeah,
point.
I mean, on that note, like, that goes back to the whole like saying like you need to learn to love yourself before you can love anybody else. So
100%.
maybe you maybe you
100%.
just personally wasn't ready for the relationship yet, because maybe you guys would have been great had you, dealt with any personal stuff you got on your back. Not saying like you like, ruined the relationship yourself, or you drug the relationship or anything like that.
I
But
get it, man. I'm just a horrible person. I get it. You go ahead. Okay, man.
but but personally, that's why I'm not in the relationship myself. Like, I need to fix myself and handle my own things before I can put down anybody else. Like, you already know, both of you, I'm sure both of you guys already know, I have major trust issues based on how many times I've been cheated
Mhm.
on. So I need to fix myself and make myself realize that not every woman's gonna cheat on me, and I don't need to be overprotective and super like concerned if any girlfriend of mine in the future like having a conversation with the male cashier type thing. Like like I need to fix myself and get my own head straight before I ever get to another relationship again.
That is so hard to do though, because like with the whole trust issues and stuff like that, it's like, I've already tried helping you with that, even though with myself I have trust issues too, and it sucks because you'll start to really be like, all right, I'm gonna start to trust again, and you get into that relationship, and then they go and do something that breaks down that trust barrier again. And it's like, man, how many times before, like, how many times does this have to keep happening before I can finally be like, all right, like, it, it's going to continue to add trust issues when they keep doing stuff like that. I feel like
So let
really
me ask you
hard.
guys this. This reminded me of somebody that I talked to a while ago, right? And this was just such a heated discussion that we had, and ultimately we couldn't work out because of it. And I want to ask you both this, right? So there was this girl that I talked to, and it goes along with the trust issues, right? Do you think when you first start talking to somebody that the trust is earned or given first? Should somebody either A, when you meet somebody, 100% trust no matter what, or B, you don't trust them, but they have to gain that trust? What's your stance on that?
That's
Because I was always like, okay, it's a clean slate. I trust that person 100%. But the lady I was talking to was like, no, they see that's not the case. If I talk to somebody, they have to earn that trust from me. I could be skeptical all I want, but the thing about it is the way that I looked at it is if you have that mentality and you go in a new clean slate in a relationship with somebody, I just feel it creates issues early on because it's just like, well, you don't trust me. So if there's no trust in a relationship, how can you be in a relationship with that person?
That is true because they haven't done anything to make you lose trust in them.
Exactly.
So why do they?
And you're just creating unnecessary conflict.
But I mean, on the other hand, they haven't done anything.
I can see it both ways.
I was gonna say, on the other hand, they haven't given you any reason to trust them yet.
Yeah. And that, man, trust is
It's
a big thing.
It's a tough one, man.
That is tough.
Hey, that's the whole reason I'm not in a relationship still. So you asking the wrong guy.
Well, I mean, we can speak about my last one too. I mean, I've fully trusted. It was one of the first ones where I was like, I'm really gonna fully trust into this. Like, I'm done having these trust issues. Like, I'm really gonna trust. And just one little lie could really make you be like, dang, like you see that happen, and it's like, man, I fully trusted you, and then it don't matter how small or big the lie would be, right? It's just something that's like, man, now I've lost that trust, and now I'm back to the trust issues.
Yeah, because literally going off of that topic, that can coincide with the same thing that we were talking about earlier, with the emotional connection over the physical attraction first. Because, off that same topic, the last one you were talking about, whatever, emotions and everything clicked off the bat like that, it snapped. You guys connected, and like you guys got along so well, everything like that in between, music and everything we were talking about. And once you guys got to see each other, I'm assuming you both were still physically attracted to each other too. But even then, it boils down to even emotional connection, and physical attraction isn't even everything itself, because there was more underlying issues that it fell through.
I mean, yeah, that is true. But I mean, it just sucks, when the whole trust, because like what Jake was saying here is like, is it given, or do you gotta like earn it or whatever? I guess it's both ways, really, because if you go into the relationship and you're like, all right, I fully trust you, and then they do something to make you not trust them, it hurts more because it's like, all right, now I've lost trust. But then if you go into it with a clean slate with no trust, and then they earn the trust, but then they do something to lose a little bit of it or whatever, like which one is worse or better? I don't know. That's really a.
So the way that really kind of helped me, like, so this was after this whole thing with this lady ended, but what I kind of figured out the best way to go about it is is reassurance. It goes a long ways. Like if you were to have trust issues with a woman, right? And you trust her in the beginning, but then if she was to do something that's kind of a red flag a little bit, if you're able to connect to her from a mental and emotional state, you can talk to her, be like, hey, this was something that reminded me of a past relationship. And if they loved you, they'd be like, oh, no, they would reassure you and be like, no, that's fine. You ain't got to worry about that. And then bam, that's it until they actually do something.
Or they'll get mad at that. And then once they get mad at that, because that's
a red flag on the play right there.
Yeah, that is. Because I've had another one like that where I would mention like there was some things that were going on, and bless you. There were some things going on that made me a little bit weary, and I was like, this is very similar to how another relationship of mine was going down, and I just kind of saw signs of stuff going, and I was like, man, like, and I had a conversation with her, and I was like, what is going on? Like, this just seems weird, and I overthink a lot too. So a lot of it was maybe overthinking, but in the end, all that overthinking was true because everything that was going on eventually led up to what I had already had conversations with her about. So that and she would kind of get upset about it, saying that I'm comparing, when I'm not really comparing them as people, I'm comparing situations, and I do that differently.
And somebody that's mature would realize that especially if you mention it in the beginning, hey, I have past traumas with people, they should be able to be understanding about it. So when you bring up a topic, it can reassure you instead of like, oh, why are you comparing me to so-and-so, right? Because it's a defensive mechanism. So if they're doing that, then in reality, they pretty much are. They're just being sneaky about it.
Yes, I agree with that so much. That was a great topic there. What do you think on that, Lucy?
I mean, I don't know. I'm like, we already agreed that I'm more of a pessimistic person, so I'm already looking at it like you need to earn my trust, right? Like, and it's a negative way to look at it, but it's just how I handle it. Because you could take into consideration, like, let's just say, for example, somebody was abused as a child, right? Because this happened to one of my exes before. One of my exes, she used to be abused and stuff like that. So anytime, like, I would like mess around with her. Like, I forgot like what it was. I was playing a video game, and like I was like I pushed her like as a joke. I was like, "Dude, get away from me," because she kept trying to hit my controller, and she flinched. She genuinely got scared. So immediately when that happened, I was like, "Okay, well, let me boyfriend mode activate." Like I shut off the game and I went to go talk to her. I was like, "Oh, yo, are you okay? Like, I'm sorry, like if that like scared you. Like, I would never do anything to like harm you." She was like, "No, I know you wouldn't. It's just I've been abused a lot in my past and stuff like that." And I was like, I totally understand. Like, I've never been physically abused like that by a partner or whatever, but, I'm sorry that you had to go through that. But, whatever I have to do to make you realize that I am not like that and I will never do that to you, I would do, like, you're worth the fight. You're worth, like, me having to prove you, like, I'm not like that. So it's not always a negative way. Like, it's just, unfortunate events that could have happened to somebody that you have to show them that you're not like that. It's almost like when you're just trying to date a girl, like you have to like, and there's like other guys or whatever. Like if you do that, you have to just be like, I'm not like these other guys. Like I'm better. It's kind of. So it's not always a bad way whenever it comes up in that situation. So that's just how I look at it. I've been cheated on a lot of stuff like that. So I would like reassurance, I guess a better way to put it, instead of trying to prove yourself. I would like reassurance that like, oh, well, I'm not gonna cheat on you. Like I've never cheated on anybody before. Like blah blah blah. Like I'd rather just break up instead of cheat. Stuff like that. It's always gonna be calm minding to the person that went through something like that.
Yeah, I think reassurance is really a big thing. And it sucks too, because sometimes you'll try to tell them that you want reassurance and they'll still make it like it's a big deal. And then, that's also a red flag on the play. It's another thing. It's like, man, yeah, throw it. But
So I just wanted to let anybody know, anybody that's watching this and you're in a relationship and you are being physically abused based on the topic I was going to, please seek help. Like, don't stay in that situation.
Yes. Yes.
Talk to somebody, talk to family, friends, authorities, anything you have to do. You don't deserve that. Nobody ever deserves that. If you're going through something like that, please seek help and get yourself out of that situation. There's
Yes.
always somebody out there that's way better and would treat you the correct way you're supposed to be treated. For men and women, anybody being physically abused or emotionally abused or anything like that, mistreated in a relationship whatsoever, if they're not fixing themselves and not changing that, then you need to cut your losses and you really need to seek
Yep.
some help.
And you're never ever quote unquote stuck. A lot of people say that they feel like they're stuck. There's always a way to get out of that situation if you need to. Like, do not think that you're stuck and that you have to deal with that from the other person. There's very manipulative people out there that will try to keep you and try to make you feel like you are stuck, but you're not. Go seek that help. Go talk to people that can really get you out of that situation, and you're not alone in that. Um, is there anything you want to put on that?
I'm gonna have to send what y'all just said to somebody that I absolutely love, but they're going through that right now. So I'm gonna have to send this podcast to them after, hopefully.
Yeah, how's it?
But yeah, in all serious, man, like, the one thing that I hear that people get stuck on is sharing a kid with them, right?
Yeah.
Is then you have to take into account the child's life, the two different households and stuff, right? I went through it, like my daughter's old enough to where she'll ask me, why is mommy and daddy not together, right? And the thing that I always tell them, well, two happy households is better than one toxic household, right?
Yeah.
So like,
Oh yeah.
it's just it's a tough thing, man. Like it's you could tell people go get help or whatnot, but until they get to there's a tolerance that people have, and until they get there, man, it doesn't matter how much advice they get from anybody. Until they wake up, yeah, I absolutely have it, and then they just go with it, and then it just
Well,
changes.
that's
It's
also
so weird how as
dangerous.
humans are, man. What's that?
That's dangerous because if you wait for somebody to reach their breaking point, they can snap and go blind with rage and not realize what
Yeah.
they do. Like they could,
Dude, I
I
know
mean,
it, man.
like the thing with that, and like on the kid topic as well. I'm sorry you have somebody going through that. I really hope they, get the help they need. Um, but kids as well, like unfortunately, it just depends on how old the kid is as well. Like once your kid hits teenage years and above, I believe they are able to understand like more adult conversations. So even if you had to be honest with them, like mom, your mother was abusing me, or I was abusing your mother, anything of the sort. We just it was bad, and we had to separate. When they're older and stuff like that, they can understand a lot more and be more empathetic compared to the situation and stuff. When you're like, if it's like a little 7-year-old or something, or like 5-year-old, and you try to say
Yeah,
something like that,
understanding.
they'd be like, well, then just tell mommy to stop hitting you or stop hitting mommy. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
they don't really comprehend it as much as like, a teenager would. So I always think, in the teenage years is the best time to, try and get that to your, child or the situation why mom and dad had to split up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The thing on the whole kid topic too is that a lot of people think that they're doing it for the kid, like they think it's okay to be in a toxic household, and that kid is going to see that, and they're going to grow up and see the toxicity that was going on, and like he said, two happy homes is better than one toxic one.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're growing up through a toxic household, it's just not good. If you
Is
got
what
two
they're raised with.
happy
That's what that
households,
becomes the normal for them.
yeah,
See,
that becomes the normal, and they think
I
it's
I
okay.
agree with all that too, man. Because as a kid, my mom and dad were separate, so I grew up in separate households. And the one thing, whenever my child was born, I tried to stick through it as much as I could because I didn't want my kid having the same life I did, you know. But then at the same time, the more you grow and you realize, kid senses when you're not happy, it senses when
Yep.
you're sad and all that, and it reflects that energy back onto them in ways. It's so weird how that works, but
Mm-hmm.
trust me, it does. I've seen it time and time again. But it's just like, as you get older, it's just like, maybe my mom and dad may have made the right call by not being together, right? Because even though
Mm-hmm.
as a kid it sucked, seeing friends that had a mom and dad that was there their whole childhood. Like my mom was pretty much absent, right, growing up. And there's things that I wish that I did a lot better that I feel like only my mother could teach me, but she wasn't there. So there's
Yeah.
always those things that there's trade-offs. but some trade-offs are better than the other. That's the way that I see it. So pretty touchy, man. That could be another different discussion too. Is just like dating people with kids and whatnot, right? Like it's just huge topic, man. Just you can go off by so many things with that.
And I've been in a couple of those. So yeah, so we could just go on to long distance relationships. I know we've all been through a couple of those. And do you want to start this off, Lucy, about one of your long distance relationships?
I can go into probably my most memorable one. I've been in a couple, but there's always been one that's been the most memorable for me. I met this girl online. I was in middle school or high school at the time. I can remember. I was 16. I don't remember what age you start middle school or high school, but I was 16 at the time, and I believe she was 15. And what we did, we met on Xbox. We had a blast. We, played video games all the time together, whatever. And eventually we started dating. And, being young and in a long distance relationship is also, hard because you obviously, you guys both still go to school and stuff like that. And, you know, again, jealousy issues. I've had them pretty much all my life. And I would overthink a lot, like, well, who's she in school with? Like, she's have another boyfriend in school, whatever the case was. But we both made a decision. We were like, hey, let's ask our parents if we can meet each other. Like, let's do that. Like, and we did, and everything went really smooth. I flew to her first. She lived in another state than me, and I flew over to her. And let me tell you, it was exhilarating, the feeling. Like on the whole flight there was this one song that kept playing. I forgot what it was. It was literally singing out my life. Like it was literally singing out like, I'm flying to you, I'm flying to my love, I can't wait to meet you. But bro, I had that song on repeat. I had like I could recite the lyrics right now. I'm not gonna do it. But but I had that song on repeat. And then when I got there, I texted her. I'm like, yo, I just landed. Where you at? She's like, oh, I'm at baggage area 9. Like, that's where your bag's going to be. I was like, okay, bet. So I'm running with my carry-on, like looking around like, well, yo, where's this baggage area? And I see it. And let me tell you, I did not know I can run that fast, but I ran. So I ran, and then the baggage area was surrounded by glass. Like, each baggage area was surrounded by, like, glass windows and stuff. So I saw her through the glass. I'm like, oh my god, there she is. And I almost, I almost pushed an old lady out the way. I was like, girl, you better move because the love of my life is right there. But then I met her. We hugged. It was crazy. Her mother was there with her. She gave her the ride. I met her mother, shook her hand, polite. And we hit it off. We had a great time. When I went there, I stayed with her. I stood in the living room. Obviously, we were kids, so I wasn't allowed to stay in the same room with her. I stood in the living room. She slept in her room. And we did all kinds of things, bro. She introduced me to Whataburger. That place was amazing. I wish I could still eat some right now. They don't have it down here where I'm at.
They don't have it here either.
But that was amazing. We went to Warp Tour together. We did that. Like, we played video games together. I got her like I got her like this gift. It was like this little bracelet that lights up whenever like someone touches it. So we both had one. So when I came back, like I would touch my bracelet whenever I missed her, it would light up for her on her wrist and vice versa. It was great. Um, and then what's it called? When I came back, she loved this one hoodie I had. It was like one of my favorite hoodies, and she loved it. And I was like, damn, like what can I do? And me being a little romance, right? Like me being a little romance Romeo, bro. I was like, all right, bet. So I took my hoodie and I left my cologne there too. She loved my cologne. I left my cologne there and everything. I left my cologne and my hoodie, and I folded it up and I put it under her bed. And when I got back home, we were messaging or whatever, and we got on video call. I was like, "Hey, can you do me a favor?" I was like, "Yo, can you check under your bed?" And she checked under her bed. She started crying, and I was like, "Yo, what you crying for? Like, it's good. We're gonna get to see each other again. It'll be fun." But definitely, like, probably I would say maybe like the best relationship I've ever been in. Like, even though we were young and everything, like young and naive, I think that's why it ended. We were so young and like we were immature and stuff. But like if she ever messaged me again, ever got in contact with me again, I would probably definitely give the relationship another shot. I think now that we're both older, I feel like we were both definitely, perfect for each other. Had I not messed it up being younger.
That'd be crazy if she messages you and she says she still has all that stuff.
Man,
bro.
Could you imagine?
Oh my god.
Commercial break, right?
Oh my god. Yeah, I feel like I ranted a little bit. What about you, Jake? Long distance at all, or
So,
yay or nay?
nay, I'm not a fan of it, and I think it just really depends on someone's love language, man. Like, for me, I can't. Like the longest relationship I've ever had, and I'm talking about actually in a relationship, not like talking to somebody, because like I've talked to people states away, right? Nothing ever happened, but in a relationship with like committed to them, my longest was only maybe a 2 hour drive, but it made seeing each other so difficult. And a lot of times I'm cool. I'm like do my own thing, go to the gym, do school, whatever, right? But then when there's nights or if there's days I'm lonely with somebody and I need to have that human connection with, it's not there, and it was never convenient for me, and it's just something that I have to have as a person, man. Like I value physical touch pretty high on the scale, and I feel like if that person's not there for you, like the presence is not there, they're not physically there for like with you, I just can't be in a relationship like that, man. Like it sucks, but everybody's different.
Yeah, I can see that. How you know physical touch is one of my top things too. But I mean, I've done long distance. I've had a couple in states away, um, and I, it's tough. It's tough to know if it's a thing that'll work or not because I've always had trust issues too, and doing long distance, that those trust issues are major because it's like, all right, why is she not texting me? Is she really asleep at 8 p.m. on a weekday or weekend? Right? What is she doing? Like, you know, that's weird. That's off. It's been a couple hours. You're not texting me. Where are you at? Type thing. And I don't know. It's really tough. But with the couple that I've been in or whatever, uh, it another thing too that's a big issue is if they have a kid, which we've talked about with the whole kid thing too, and it's like they have a baby daddy that's there too, and it's like, all right, well then how would this work? Do you would have to move there with them if you eventually in the future, or they would want to move here with me and stuff like that, and sometimes that just becomes a too big of an issue, and even if in the beginning both sides are like, all right, we know this is an issue, but we know how we can work through it. And then eventually that becomes the main issue. And so I don't know. It just with long distance, I guess it just depends on the person. But I'm more leaning toward that. It just I don't think it really works.
Well, that's like me being in one before. Like I get it, like the physical, like touch and stuff like that. Like because that's always like helps everybody. But I mean, I thought you would be more on board for the. I thought you'd be more on my side with this one. There you go, the yin and yang again. Because, like, well, because it's like it's polar opposites at this point, right? Because I was like, we were talking about like the physical attraction, right? And you said no, the emotional connection is more important. Your words, right? And
Yeah.
it's like it's like opposite for me because like when if it's a long distance and I really connect with somebody, the emotional connection like takes over the physical touch for me. Like, and me being like a thought,
Yeah.
Horn dog.
like, yeah, horn dog. Me being that, like, you would think that I would like have the most issue out of all three of us, but I really don't. Like, again, like, I know what she looks like. I met her, blah 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 blah. Like, I'm physically attracted to her, and we connect really well, and like we laugh and get along everything, but we just happen to live far apart. The physical touch doesn't really bother me all that much. Like I think it's worth it in the end. And I think maybe it's because like I'm the only one out of all three of us that's like made the trip and met them. But bro, there's no feeling like that when you like meet them for the first time. It's like meeting a whole new person all over again, but you're with them. Like it's a crazy feeling. I wish I could explain, but it's so like out of this world. So
I mean, yeah, it
I mean,
probably is
personally, like I can deal without the physical touch, and just like wait until like we meet in person again, like one of us fly to each other. Like I think it's worth it for me if you
well,
connect and attracted to them.
I do think physical touch. I don't mean it as in like a sexual way, but like
Yeah,
being
yeah,
able to hold their hand and kiss and hug or cuddle at night type
yeah, yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Like
Yeah, that's what I
that,
meant too. I was just making
I
a joke with the thought thing,
yeah,
but
well, but yeah. So, but yeah. But
okay, I really
I
am one,
just.
but that's not. I was talking about that.
But no, like I just feel like that's a big thing. But like when you go like months, right, and then neither side is really making an effort to make that first contact to be able to meet somewhere or anything like that. It's like when you get to that point, it's like, all right, like when is this gonna happen? Like, is it gonna happen, or am I just getting played for the long run and you're just using me for my feelings and my stuff that my help that I give you and all this other stuff that we have conversations with and all that. Like I don't know. That's why I really kind of defer from you. Like I can do it, right? I think it
Mhm.
can work, but it just depends on the two individuals that are trying it if they're both willing and truly committed and able to have trust in it and don't be sneaky because I also feel like this. People that do long distance, there's some people that I feel like it might be easier for them to cheat or lie because what are their consequences of it, right? They just lose a person. It's instead of them being there in your town or city or around you, there's not that physical connection that they have with you. So it's like they could just lie, cheat, whatever. How's it going to get back to you? How are you going to find out that they did it? You don't know anyone else in that city that she's in, right? So how are you going to find out if she did? You could easily go, like I said, with the whole 8 p.m. thing, she says she's asleep. Bam, she's at another dude's house. So
Mhm.
how do you trust that? You know, like, it's hard to, but I never actually got to the point of physically meeting them. Um, it would almost happen, and right when it was about to happen, something mysteriously came out, and we never did. But
Red flag on the
red
play.
flag, throw the red flag on the play. But I mean, yeah, Jake, you're long distance. I know the one you did actually meet them though. He actually was
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
one
this,
that he
this,
did meet.
yeah, this.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, it was only a 2-hour drive, right? But like,
Oh,
we
it's
had
still pretty long
complications.
distance.
Yeah, but
I
like,
mean,
we had conflict.
Not as much.
That, oh, yeah, like, I mean, we had complications, man. It was like, she was a good person. We got along well, but yeah, just the whole absence of physical touch wasn't there. And then when you're dating somebody and they're still going through, say, a divorce, that's always a huge thing. That could
Yeah.
unleash a whole lot of trust issues, right? And just a big mess. I think it could have been wrong place, wrong time deal, but just like uh, man, like I can't really relate too much on the online long distance relationship thing. Like I said, I only had one. It didn't work out, and I'm telling myself I'm never going back to that again. My rule of thumb is an hour drive or less. Anything over, that's outside my zone. I don't want to deal with it.
I think I'm more or less than that now. If I try again with somebody, I think 30 minutes, maybe 45. I think
if they're not next
Eh.
door to me, I don't want them. Like,
bro, if it's not my neighbor, then I'm done. I don't want it. I don't
I
want
watch your neighbor see this and like.
Oh, hey, you gonna meet up? Or... no, but she's probably already got a man, husband, everything, bro.
Well, then go knock the check.
Oh god. But
Oh man.
I mean,
about,
I was gonna bring up the whole like I think a big thing that takes play in dating is like people who believe in astrology and stuff like that as well. And I don't know if you guys deal with it as much as I do. Maybe it's just my sign. Maybe it's just because I'm a Capricorn, and but that takes place in a lot of like times I try to talk to a woman. A lot of times, and there's probably men out there too that like really into astrology. I'm not saying only women focus on astrology, but astrology can take place in a lot of issues with dating because people just base you off your sign and not you as your person and you as your personality. They put this label on you because they're like, oh well, I'm a Capricorn. I don't get along with Sagittariuses, so like we can never talk, we can never be friends, we can never date. And that takes a big part of my stuff too, because it's funny to me because there's been so many times I try to talk to a girl online and they're just like, oh, when's your birthday, blah blah blah, whatever. Or sometimes they even see it on the bio, or whatever, because I put it in my bio too. And they're like, oh, you're Capricorn, like we don't click. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, you don't even know me, like
this is crazy. Exactly, they don't get to know you or anything, and they just put in that label instantly. They're like, done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is very crazy.
But yeah, I really don't relate to this topic a lot. I never have had a female base it off of my personality. I mean, we talk about it, and people like I meet people that are into it, right? And luckily, they've been mature enough to not label me as such and such from what they read online. Personally, I like reading them. I think they're interesting, but I don't think it makes me up as a person. And for the
Wait, what's your
majority,
sign?
I'm a Scorpio, man.
Oh, that's such a Scorpio thing to say. All right, go on.
Yeah,
I'm an Aries.
but
oh, you're such an Aries, dude.
But like, I don't base it off people a lot, man. And I've been fortunate to where the women that I've talked to, they don't either. I mean, I find it interesting, so that's kind of just my stance on it.
I mean, because I could see like astrology, like some things do like make sense for me. Like they say like Capricorns, which they say Capricorns are like hard workers and they work a lot, and they don't really show their emotions, stuff like that. And I'm like, well, that's kind of true. Like I don't really show my emotions, and like I do work a lot, But to put it into the dating aspect, is like it's weird because like I've met other Capricorns that are completely different from me. Like they act like every Capricorn is the same person, which is not the case. Like I've met a lot of Capricorns that are completely different from me. They're like unemployed. They don't care about work and anything like that. So to base off of that is absurd. But I mean, different strokes for different folks, I guess.
Yeah, and like Jake said, they're interesting to read. Sometimes I'll, see what my compatibility is with somebody, just to see what it is.
Hey, we did that
interesting.
a couple weeks ago, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We actually checked out a couple friends, but it's interesting to look at. And I like looking at personality enneagrams. They're really cool to check out. I'm a type 2, but those are really cool. But I don't know. I don't know why people will base it directly off of what you are. I don't think that's right. I think you should get to know the person before you do anything. Don't just base it directly on their sign.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. I mean, like I said, like the one times that's happened to me, like girls would just stop talking to me and like block me just based off of my sign. Sometimes it's crazy. They're like, "Oh, like you're Capricorn, I'm a Capri Sun. We don't click, bye, block." And I'm like, "Whoa, bro! Like, I didn't even get to make a case. Like, I didn't even get to say like anything about me. You just saw my birthday and like, yep, nope, bye."
Yep.
Like, that's like, bro. Like, if you put it in perspective, it's like, "Oh, you got brown hair. I don't like brown hair. Bye." Like,
yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's a lot to put in like relationships and to base like how you connect with somebody just off their sign. Like, it's not right because I've dated people who like said that stuff. They're like, "Oh, well, you're a Capricorn. We don't really get along," and like we dated, and we had a great time, And I was like, it proved it wrong. But well, I mean, actually, no. At the end of the day, we're not together, so maybe they were right. You know what? Never mind. I take all that back. I believe in astrology. Like,
I mean, relationships are just hard in general, man. You know, they're just hard in general. Even people that didn't look at that, y'all aren't together. So I mean, yeah. Maybe they should have
okay.
looked.
Well,
Maybe, maybe they should have seen that. Maybe you were not compatible and just didn't waste your time. You know.
I mean,
Crazy what we got to
I don't
deal
know.
with as humans just to have love in our life, dude.
And
You know?
yeah, that is true. I deal with a lot to try to find
The
it.
obstacles, man. The obstacles.
I know, man. We might as well try it for the Olympics at this point. Like the way we jump in these vaults and stuff, we might as well. They really
good.
putting us through the ringer, bro. Like, for real, bro.
That's really how it is, man. It's tough, and just each time it gets harder and harder. I feel like.
Yeah, I lose more and more faith in relationships.
But I'm still gonna
See,
keep trying to make you believe in relationships. You're gonna keep trying.
I mean, at this point, we still kind of switched, man. Like, shouldn't I be saying that to you?
Look,
Like,
I still look. All right, I'm gonna wait till I'm out of college probably and try again. You know, I've had a lot of stress from work and school and all that. So I think right now I don't want to try a relationship, but eventually I'm gonna get back into it. I think.
the way that I view it, man,
See how that
is
goes.
I used to have that chase, man. I had to be with somebody, and he's known this for years, right? Whenever I would get out of a relationship, I was so eager to get into the next one to fill that void, you know. But this now where I'm at as a person, man, it's just like, yeah, there's days, there's like or whatever where I'm just like, man, I'm lonely, dude. I want somebody, but then it's just like I look at couples, I look back at like the issues that I've had, why I never got to work out with anybody. I'm actually kind of glad I'm single, man, because it's like, look, I can go to the gym, I can play video games whenever I want. Nobody's got to tell me what to do, man. And like I've really started to become a believer of the saying, you're gonna find your person when you least expect it. So I'm not really actively looking. I'm just waiting for somebody just to pop in my life, and they make me an importance at that point, right? Like, just
I'm right here.
you single? You got something you gotta tell me, man? No,
Yeah, I thought I'd confess right here on the podcast right now while we're recording them. You know, ever since I met you,
I thought y'all two were getting married though.
He's a side piece. He's a side piece.
wow.
You're the one.
Okay, I get it now. But yeah, man, that's just kind of like where I'm just like, you know, it's always nice being single, and plus the whole just dating world, man, in today's society is just so messed up, you know. Oh, and it really comes down to communication. Not a lot of it's there. Or people playing games with one another, you know. And it's just, I don't know, man. Like when you actually get in a relationship, it's nice, but then when you get out of it for a while, it's just like, man, how the heck am I going to find my next person? But if you just do you, man, focus on you,
Yes.
make yourself a better person, the best you can be, your person's going to come around eventually. I feel like.
And that's something I've always tried telling you. Always tried telling you with this is just
Yeah, he's my
don't-
therapist. He's been my therapist for 13 years, man.
Hey, man, I
Feels
would
like
get your
it.
money back
Hey,
if he's your
well,
therapist. I don't...
Look, man, if it don't work for me, all right, doesn't mean I can't help other people get it to work. Okay.
Look, Beast is the perfect
Isn't he
person.
still single?
Hey. Look,
Yeah, but he didn't
I
listen to me.
am.
It went through one ear out
But
the
I-
other.
but
He
I-
never listened to me.
But look, I'm embracing the single life, man. By now, I'd already be in another relationship by now. Since my last relationship was like 4 months ago, right? But nah, man. I give prop to Beast, man. You know, he's all about. He knows how to give the advice, but he can't apply it to his real world.
That's facts.
scenarios,
That's
man.
so facts. That's so facts. That's so facts. I'm a good advice giver. I just don't apply it to my own stuff. But you know, a lot of people will get out of a relationship, and not just you, but people will do that. They'll be like, all right, I got to fill this void. Like, it'll help me get over the last person. They don't allow themselves time to recover. And
That's
to,
what we
to get
call
over
a
that.
rebound relationship.
Yeah, yeah. And even when they're in a relationship, right? They'll try to find that person because they know it's about to happen. They know that the end's coming between them. So they'll try to find that backup so that when it does end, bam, they're already into it. You know, they don't allow themselves to recover. And then that next relationship that they're rebounding off of, it doesn't last because
It's just a cycle,
didn't.
man.
Yeah, and it becomes a cycle. If you don't allow yourself time to recover from that breakup that you had, then most of the times it's not going to work. So you need to find things that make you happy on your own, make yourself happy, and then somebody can come in and give more of a boost to your happiness. And but yeah, to give you more of a boost to your happiness, and
My bad, I was trying to make a
really
shot,
just
man.
yeah. Hey, shoot your shot, man. Shoot your shot. But
Okay, hold on. Let me just grab one of these real quick.
wait, no, not that shot. Not that shot.
Oh, my bad.
But yeah, like I don't know. I just feel like people that don't let that rebound recover, that next relationship just doesn't work out most of the time, not all the time. But you really got to just find something that you enjoy that makes you happy. Go to the gym, go play basketball. That's what I would do. I'd go to the gym, go play basketball. It gets
Basketball, you saying?
Oh,
Sorry, you said basketball. I thought that was cute.
but yeah, like just find something that you enjoy and get your mind off of it and allow yourself time to recover. Stay single. Don't allow that stress and stuff to pile up, and just give it time and wait, like you said. Wait for that person to come into your life. Don't go search. Don't go search for it. Wait for it to come to you. Yeah. Now you also have to put yourself into a position for it to come to you. You can't just stay at home all the time and not go out and not let it come to you. You can't block it off, but you have to let it come to you in some way. But during that time of healing, find something that makes you happy.
Yeah, I agree with you completely, man. Like, and not only that, but when we talk about the whole rebounding type deal, like you trying to find that replacement, you're not just growing because you're not fixing your mistakes as a person, what you did in that relationship, but you're moving on to somebody else that has to deal with your problems that you never tried to improve on. And not only that, but you're hurting the other person. I had to deal with this with the last person I was with, right? Like, I was on the receiving end of somebody that had that trait of finding your replacement, right? If you've been with somebody for such a long time, and then you see them in a relationship with somebody a couple weeks later, they really love you. Did they really care about you? The fact that they're able to just replace you so quick without taking the time to heal or anything, like there's a lot of people that you're hurting in this process, and I just find it not a good thing to do,
Yep.
like, and not only that, but as you Beast mentioned here, you got basketball, or whatever hobby it may be, but let me tell you something that you guys are always going to have, boys or girls, you're always going to have the boys. They're going to be here for you through all your breakups. Okay? Get your group, hug them in tight, be like, look, I'm sorry, I put too much effort into the hey, I appreciate you boys. Come here, give me a hug. Look, I'm sorry, guys, that when I get in these relationships, I don't spend a lot of time with you boys, but you guys are always there for me. And that's what you need to do. That's what you need to do to your group, because I guarantee you that when you get in these relationships, you don't spend as much time with them, and you all drift apart. So, yeah, your group's always going to be there for you. That's another thing that'll help you with these breakups instead of trying to just find the next person.
Yeah, and it's something actually we mentioned on the introduction podcast. If you watched last week, we actually mentioned putting it on to music, which is something me and Lucy have done. We've put some of our heartbreaks into music and wrote it out. Like, it's another hobby that we've done. So just find whatever can make you happy to fill that void instead of finding another person that can fill that void. Because, like Jake said, you're just hurting that other person too. Because most of the time, it's not going to work out because you're still going to be thinking about your past person that you were with. And it's just a cycle. Because then that person's going to end, guess what? You're going to go back to another one. So.
Or you can, you can just use that feeling to work out and, excel in work, make more money, and look better and make them regret ever leaving you, and make them regret ever breaking up with
That's why
you.
you go to the gym. That's why you go to the gym. That's something big. I've done. Jake's done. We've all done it. We'll go to the gym.
Big as
Make
fuck,
ourselves
boy.
look better, feel better. Yeah. Make ourselves feel better about ourselves, and then make them regret it. But
Yeah, see, like you mentioned earlier, the whole like working on yourself and your thing was trust issues, right? My thing that I've always had was confidence issues. And I feel like going to the gym with me, getting in better shape, has improved my confidence a lot as a person. You'll find these hobbies that will help you with what you struggle with as a person as well. So
That's good. Yeah. That's one thing I don't really have an issue with. I'm so full of myself. If I had any more ego, my head would implode.
oh yeah,
So,
dude, if I was a
true.
chick, dude, you'd score me first night. I guarantee it.
Wow.
All right, well,
Maybe y'all
heard
should
it
get married.
first, though.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie with you boys. There were some good topics tonight that we talked about, and like, it was so good, man, that I feel like I was starting to get feelings for you guys because you guys was just so good
Okay, well,
with stuff, and
Yeah, now that we got him out of his feels and he's feeling a little bit better, we had to take a moment to make him feel a little bit better. I think this would be a perfect time to wrap this up. I think we covered a lot of topics, and I feel like we really went in depth on all of them. Yeah, you want to close it out, or?
Yeah, man. So, Jake, it was nice having you on for this podcast.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
It was
thanks
a
for being
pleasure,
here.
boys.
Having you on here. If everybody liked the episode, if you have any topics you'd like us to talk about, hit us up on Instagram or check out our link tree at podcast_diverse. You can find all our socials there. And yeah, if anybody else would want to be a guest either, too, like you could just hit us up on there too.
Yep, you can be next. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us. See you on
Have
the
a good
next
night.
episode.